Okay, wait, I think we are going live potentially. Do you get this message?
I got
Oh,
it.
yeah, I've got a message.
I just had informed consent just then.
Nice, fantastic, love it.
Yes, yeah, it's working. It's working. It's working.
Are we live? Oh my God, we're live.
Okay.
There's a big ass Zoom logo on the
So
corner,
don't
but
say
that's
anything
fine.
offensive.
Yeah. All right, best behavior.
Hey guys, how are we doing?
right.
Can you hear us on the stream? Can you post on the YouTube chat if you can hear us? And should we let our people in? I
Yeah,
guess?
let's let everyone in.
Oh, this is exciting. I haven't done one of these in ages. I'm excited. 2 seconds.
I'm nervous. Never do live.
Look at all our friends coming in.
Yeah, wow.
Okay, great. Oh, okay, interesting. So the thing that's being broadcast live on YouTube. Oh no, we're back. We're on split view now, so that's fine. That works. Great. I'm just gonna like start talking, and I hope that things will work. And I now see the chat. Sick. All right. I guess we can just get started. This is cool. Hey everyone who is joining the Zoom call from our YouTuber Academy community, and everyone who's joining live on YouTube. Welcome to the party. We're here with Becki and Chris. Becki and Chris are YouTubers that I've been obsessed with ever since, like, I don't know, 3 years ago when your Peter McKinnon collab was. And I was like, whoa, who are these guys? And oh my God, their channel is incredible. And actually, we've probably, like, on this YouTube course, we've referenced you more often than anyone else in terms of just like set design and interior design and background.
Really? No way.
That's so
like
nice.
genuinely. we like literally like screen share and use examples from your channel about this is how you make a setup look absolutely sick. And I don't know how they do it, but it's just freaking incredible. So thank you for the ongoing inspiration on that.
The secret is that we're cheap, and we've developed our look around one light
And paint everything black.
Yeah,
And
that's
that's it.
basically, and it's turned into a look, right?
Yeah, no, it's pretty good. So I've actually just moved into this studio space, and I was lamenting my lack of interior design skills because I literally have no idea what looks good other than houseplant ×3 lamp and maybe a neon sign that we haven't got yet. Like how do you go about like making something look good? Like what does that process broadly look like? And I know you've got a few videos on this that we can link as well.
Mhm.
Step 1, find a wife who's into interior design. Step 2, profit.
I feel like finding the inspiration shot is like the key thing. So like figuring out like what is the vibe that you want to go for and the mood, and then going through Pinterest and finding tons of photos of things that you like, and then analyzing those pictures and seeing what about those things is it that you like. So is it walls? Is it the neutral color scheme? Is it the textures? Is it the lighting? And then just trying to pull inspiration from all of those images and kind of build your own thing. But I spent a lot of time doing like mood boards and mock-ups of like pulling different furniture pieces and kind of figuring out what it's all going to look like together.
Yeah, you make like mood boards.
Yeah.
And just whether that be, I mean, you being a graphic designer as your sort of main training,
Mm-hmm.
you create them on your own. But I mean, you can use like Pinterest and stuff just to kind of like, pin stuff you like, and then you'll see an overall sort of theme on what it's like. Oh, I really vibe with this sort of dark and moody, or I like this sort of light and airy, or whatever. And then I guess just steal. I mean, what was it? There's a video that you made was like saying there's very few original ideas.
Yep.
Never. It's just like everything's combinations and permutations of other people's stuff. And if you mash it up enough, it'll be original.
Yeah. I guess it's, yeah, it kind of feels weird for me because to me, interior design is like this black box where it feels like, oh my God, I need to be like qualified to know what interior design looks like. But then I guess to a lot of people, being YouTubers and stuff also like learning how to code also feels like that black box. And it's only when you go into it that you realize, oh, there's actually tutorials about all of this stuff, and someone's done a Skillshare class, and like there's plenty of free stuff if you just Google it. And I've just never really done that with interior design, which is why it feels harder to crack. I don't know if that's fair to say. Like, Becki, did you have like a background in interior design, or was it just sort of self-taught? You figured it out as you went along?
Kind of just figured it out. I've been obsessed with like all things home renovation since I was a child. Like, grew up watching This Old House and New Yankee Workshop and all that stuff. And then in my teens, obsessed with trading spaces. And then I went into graphic design. So there's a little bit of crossover in terms of like color theory and scale and perspective and things. But when I was working for myself back in St. John's at a company, and I did freelance photography and design, but I worked with an interior design company. They did modern interior design, and they had a furniture showroom, and it was like all the stuff that you see like in our Instagram and videos, like they sell that stuff. So I worked with them for a number of years and shot like all of their properties and was in on meetings. And so I think just being around that type of design and seeing like how they put things together kind of really helped me start to understand it. I still don't fully understand it.
And you're very quick to like give a disclaimer saying, I'm not a graphic designer or not an interior designer.
Yeah.
But you know what you like, and therefore can kind of create your own taste. But if someone came to you and was like, hey, can you like design this space for me? This is my style.
I'd be like, I only know modern or Scandinavian, whatever you call this. My friend calls it evil Scandinavian.
Oh, evil Scandinavian. Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, because I usually imagine Scandinavian as being quite light and airy, but your designs are very dark mode, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's like Scandinavian on dark mode.
Yeah,
it's dark mode. Yeah.
So I guess the format of this is usually we kind of take questions from our Zoom audience, and I guess we can also take a few questions from our YouTube chat. So Angus and Bob, if you can monitor, or someone, if you can monitor the YouTube chat and just like post things in the Zoom chat, because that's the only one that I'm seeing here. And guys on the Zoom, if you have any, if you want to ask a question or anything, feel free to stick your hand up and we'll get you on video so we can ask the question. But I guess the first thing I wanted to ask you guys is, like I've been following your content for quite a while now, and one thing I've often wondered is, how do you think about your niche, if like that's a thing? Because I know in the past you had that absolutely sick intro. I think it was like lifestyle video, something like interior, something like that, with like the drone shots and everything, and it looked great. But then you dropped the intro at some point, and so I've always been curious, like how do you think about what is your niche, and does that, and therefore how do you think about what videos you actually want to make on the channel?
So we kind of have a little bit of a philosophy about this. We've always when we started our channel, we were kind of going off the fact that we just want to make videos about things that we're into. So therefore we kind of let go of like the niche pretty early on. And we were just like, we're going to make whatever it is. If it's travel, photography, interior design, it is going to live on our channel in some capacity, instead of niching down, because we didn't really want to do that. It was kind of for fun is why we started it. And then it turned into a job, which is great. So we kind of look at it as we don't really have a niche, but kind of fits into a few boxes or pillars, if you will. So we have like the travel pillar, the photography video pillar, the interior design pillar, and then like helicopters, which is kind of travel. And we try to kind of incorporate all of the things if we can, or at least two of those things in some of our videos. Sometimes it's not always possible, but if we do a home renovation video, then we kind of try to make it either about the studio or about an office design, which I think kind of connects a little bit. Or if we do a helicopter video, we'll try to incorporate some photography into that. So it's kind of trying to take little pieces of each pillar and kind of mash them together.
Yeah, like I wish there was an analytics tool that could show you sort of the like pockets of interests your audience has, because I have a feeling that we would have a lot of different bubbles of various colors on that imaginary tool. And like Becki said, we've always kind of taken the mindset that if, like she said earlier, when we started this, it really started off as more or less kind of like a travel adventure channel. And I don't know how it's all worked out in the UK system, but in here we have like the last year of training would be like fellowship. And it's like after residency, or what is that? Is it registrar? Is that what you are? Is that
registrars. And then you can do fellowships as an optional thing if you want.
Okay. Yeah, it's the same here. Yeah. And it's becoming more or less now fellowships are kind of like everyone's doing them because it's just a competitive job market.
Yeah. Same here.
So we went away for a year to Vancouver, Canada to do a 1-year fellowship. And so Becki, having like basically a micro marketing agency / photography business, she, we were basically looked at it, we're like, it doesn't really make sense to try to like build up clientele here and try to break into like the Vancouver real estate market, because she's doing a lot of real estate photography. And she's like, just why don't we just work on a personal project? And she's like, well, like I've always liked, travel videos and travel series. So why don't we make like sort of a hybrid of that, just do it on YouTube. And at least at the end of the day, like mom and dad will know that we're doing okay. Like they'll follow along. So, and it also gave us like an excuse to kind of like, see all of that area, right? Like Vancouver or British Columbia in Canada is a massive province. There's so much to do there. And when you're really only there for a week, and you're only able to do so, a year, and you're only able
only there for 1 week.
1 week, see all of the province in 1 week, start a channel. And anyway, so yeah, doing weekly adventures, we basically just started documenting them. And it really was just kind of like start off as the stuff we were interested in. And then by the end of that year, I mean, we weren't like, it didn't like explode or anything. We were at maybe like a few thousand subs. Probably half of them were like our immediate network of people on Facebook who we actually knew in real life. So it wasn't like anything big, but it was, it was steadily growing basically. And at that point we were kind of like, you know what, we see a lot of people like saying like niche down, because like find your niche and then just pound it, and the algorithm will just push you followers and subs. That's, I still believe that's true. But for us, it was more so, it wasn't a job and it wasn't aiming to be a job at that point. So for us, it was kind of like, you know what, let's just kind of put stuff that we're interested in online. And as long as it passes the authenticity test, as in this is stuff we're interested in, we can passionately deliver it, then I think it'll do fine. And we've kind of just had faith in that. And I think it's worked to a degree. Have we grown as fast as some people grown after what, like 5 years of YouTube? No, probably not. We probably could grow faster if we just chose one thing and stuck to it. But I think that a lot of our followers and subs, like Becki did like a repainting of the basement, and someone in the comments said, I could watch you watch paint dry. And I think that was sort of, I was like, okay, I think we're grooming the audience to come for us rather than come for just the content or we're making or the niche we're making, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, this is something I think about a lot. And we talk a lot about I was hanging out with 2 YouTuber friends earlier today, and we were talking about this thing of like, there is like traditional YouTube advice, which is niche down, use a face in a thumbnail, show your eyeballs in the thumbnails, have like a kind of Mr. Beast expression of the thumbnail. And like, maybe yes, all of that stuff does work, but there is also a level of it where it's like, you've got to think about what are your own goals, what's your own like vibe, how like classy do you just care to be with your thumbnails, and just recognizing that actually maybe that means you won't grow as fast, but that's okay, and just being totally okay with like owning that decision. And so for you guys, it sounds like because it wasn't a job, it meant that you didn't have to chase the numbers. Has that changed at all since it sort of become a job? Like, do you find yourself more chasing the numbers? I mean, I ask because my last 3 videos have been 10 out of 10s, and I've been feeling a bit like, oh shit, my 10
out of 10s being 0 is destroyed. Traditional style.
So yeah, how do you feel about chasing the numbers these days, like compared to the olden days?
We try not to look at the numbers, because in the past we have looked at them, and it starts to affect your mindset, what you're making, and how you view doing YouTube as a job. So it's kind of like a balance of like looking to see what's working and then also making what you love. But it's hard because the brands look at the numbers, right? So if I want to make a video about how to paint a wall, I know that video is not going to perform, but I know that I'm going to get 10 DMs of people asking how to paint a wall. And it's easy for me to be able to send that video. So I made the video regardless if it got, 5,000 views or 100,000 views. And, so I try not to look at it too much, but there are some videos that become a little more strategic that we do put a bit more planning, and we're like, okay, this might be a really good video. It might do well. So let's like try to deliver it in a way that it might get shared a little bit more. Whereas like the next week we might put up a video of us having a campfire in our backyard, and we just don't really care if that, like what happens with it, because we had fun making it. So it's kind of, I think it was Sarah Dietschy once said, like, one for you, one for them.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that I kind of keep in the back of my head sometimes. It's like, I'll make one that I think somebody can learn some cool stuff from that I want to make. And then I'll make a video that maybe nobody's going to give a shit about, but I want to make it, and it's fun to do.
But sometimes those ones like pop off.
Sometimes.
And sometimes they flop.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes you have no idea. Like there's been videos that we've put up that I'm like, this probably isn't going to do great, and it does really, really well. There are other videos I put up, I'm like, I think this is going to be a good video and it's going to do well, and it flops. So I just stop trying to care too much about it. But then, you get a brand who's like, oh, your numbers aren't good enough for your rate. And then you're like, well, shit, like now I feel bad about myself.
Yeah. But you know what, like, I don't know. I've always said that, you have always said this, is that if you look at your average views, it's like, and in fact, I said this to you again today, because our last video wasn't doing as well as you would hope it do. But, your average views, I mean, they do give you a range, but say your average views, it's a mean, right? So 50% is going to be above average, 50% is below average. If you are going to be sad for every time you get a below average video, you're gonna be sad 50% of the time. You know, it's like that's just an average. You know, well, I mean theoretically we get the non-normal distribution, but either way, like it's you can get into it. But yeah, so back me up here, Ollie. But what I'm getting at is that if you let these numbers dictate your overall well-being, it's like trying to, I don't know, it's like playing the lottery with your emotions. It just makes no sense.
I feel like we're terrible YouTubers because I think a lot of people, like you see on Twitter a lot of times when people are talking about
like strategy
and looking at their thumbnail. And I'm just like, I just want to make a thumbnail that I like, that looks good on the channel without this silly face or whatever. And then like, you know, we could care more about our titles, but it's just, you know, it's a balance of keeping a healthy, happy, you know, job scenario. Doing YouTube is already mentally taxing because you're sitting there and editing all day is draining, but then you put your work out into the world every week and people are watching it and judging it, and sometimes judging it in not so nice of a way. So it's like, how can you make it sustainable and keep a happy mental health scenario? And for me, that balance is not really looking too hard at the numbers and not stressing over titles and thumbnails. If a video fails, okay, cool, like next, let's go. I
mean, you can relate to that, Ollie. You put you're always out there, and there's people, a constant barrage of unsolicited opinions can be mentally fatiguing, we'll say.
No, I think like it just always, I'm finding this is so true in basically every domain of my life, where the less I care about the numbers, the happier I am. But at the same time, balancing that with the fact that, well, I probably should care about the numbers to some degree because, you know, it's nice that the business is growing and now we've hired people and we have this freaking studio space. So we need to make money. And if I just completely stop caring about the numbers, then that's also probably bad. I think it's just a constant balancing act. And I'm having this issue when with this book that I'm in the process of attempting to write as well, where anytime I think about the numbers, like, oh, I really want this to be a bestseller, then it just like sucks the fun out of it. And whenever I think, you know what, I'm doing it for me, I'm doing it because I'm enjoying the journey, it's fun, I want to make a book I'm proud of, then it just I actually get more of it done. So this balance between like caring about numbers versus not caring about numbers is like the bane of my life. But,
that's a very interesting outlook, because the more ambitious your sites are, the more you set yourself up for failure is really what it comes down to. It's kind of paradoxical in a way, but yeah, I mean, regarding the numbers though, I sort of almost have this like little hack that I do. And if I check something where like a video is really popping off and doing well, like I'll like bask in the dopamine. But if something is like really doing poorly, I'll just like turn the app off and just forget about it. So it's like, you can kind of like just like have your cake and eat it too. And just like, I don't know. It takes a little bit of mental gymnastics.
He's really good at it. I'm not so much. And he's like, hey, who cares? Like, it doesn't matter. I'm like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. Like you literally, you don't have any control over it. Right. Like it's
just trying to make a better video next time.
Look at the video objectively. Did you have fun making it? Are you proud of the work? If yes, feel good about yourself, move on. If no, think about what you can do for the next one to improve it. And there's always going to be a little bit, there's never going to be a perfect correlation between your numbers and what you consider good work, right? And just know that disparity is going to it's going to present its ugly head every now and then. But generally speaking, your best videos are probably the ones that have the best numbers, probably. But there's not a perfect correlation. So do what you think is, if you do your best work, people are coming for you, and that's ultimately what's driving the channel. You should drive the channel. You shouldn't let your audience drive the channel. Is what our opinion. It's
really good. Oh, I'm gonna write this on like a checklist on the whiteboard or something. Like, did I have fun making the video? Am I proud of the content? And then if so, I will ignore the numbers. And if not, then then the problem was like before, and I'll figure out a way to solve it for next time. That's really good.
Dude, this is an original idea just coming up. We're just coming up with this on the spot.
It's incredible. Right? I don't know how you do it.
I've never even thought about it that way.
You come up with this amazing philosophy. This has got to happen. So we've got a ton of questions from our students who are here on the Zoom call with us. Let's start with Pete. If you can unmute yourself, and we'll spotlight you. And theoretically, you should appear on the live stream, I hope.
Hey, guys.
Hi.
Pete, what's up?
What is up, guys? I was Becki, you mentioned about the paint dry, that it's a really boring video. That's how I came across you. That was the first video I watched where you're painting a brick wall. And I was like, how can I create a brick wall? And it came up on YouTube search. So it does kind of work.
Actually, that was the first painting video. The one I was thinking must have been the second painting video.
Yeah.
add painting as one of our niches.
Question to you, two questions. One being, because we're on Ali's channel right now, why haven't you outsourced your edit?
That's a fantastic question.
Editing is my favorite part of the entire process. So I feel like if I outsource editing, I'd be outsourcing the passion. And I don't think I don't want to be the person who's just like film it and send it off. Like for me, the story and everything comes together in the edit, and putting in the music is just like, that's everything for me. So I feel like if I was going to outsource something, it would probably be, writing, maybe helping with our Facebook group, like other tasks, but editing is like my passion. I'd rather edit than like.
And I feel and that is a great question. I was expecting Ollie to ask that question. But I think most of YouTube can be outsourced from an editing standpoint. For us, we sort of, not that, again, we don't really have a niche, but we have been in the photo video niche. I think it's sort of like one of the more recurring themes. And a lot of our viewers kind of dabble in that side of things. So I think for us, the edit is part of the secret sauce. And also the coloring is part of the secret sauce as well. So like just how we color grade our videos, how we edit the videos. When I say we, I mean she.
It's a one-woman show over
exactly.
He's just a talent. I'm kidding.
I accept that.
I'm kidding.
But yeah, I think that's part of one of the very few things that people can sort of maybe, one of the few consistent things on our channel, if we're going to be all over the place with content.
I think with like tutorials, you could source out editing for tutorials, but when it comes to like the short films or like the series, like Cold Island, like to me, the joy of making something like that is the editing process.
Yeah. We're not doing many tutorials anymore.
No, I don't like making tutorials.
Yeah. We're trying to kind of more so move into the longer form content.
And that was going to be my second question. So, because you guys, I noticed the content on your channel is changing a lot now. It's going away from the little kind of the little videos to the big series. So how much time are you spending, or how much time do you feel you're spending actively like working on the channel versus just like having fun and filming it?
It's hard because like you have to feed the algorithm. So it's like a lot of time spent making the videos that go weekly, and then a lot of time spent making like a series or a short film or something. And those projects usually take months and months and months to complete, mostly because we can't sit down and go hard at it for a couple of weeks because we have to keep putting out videos.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we've got a 5-part travel series already filmed that's in the very early editing stage. We've got a 12-part home renovation series, which is
in process.
we haven't even finished renovating our house yet. So yeah, there's just like not enough hours in a day.
Yeah.
And Hell Escapes, is that how's that channel going for you?
That's his beast.
Yeah, that was kind of for me. So for anyone who doesn't know, we've got a lot of aerial footage. We do a lot of helicopter flights, and we've got hours and hours of just like nose cam GoPro footage just mounted to the nose of the helicopter, like a first person view. So our sort of idea was to like, how can we, reuse this content? Because we might use like 4 seconds in a vlog, and then we have like, 48 minutes of it just not being used for anything. So I was planning on putting it up for sale on like stock site somewhere, which I've yet to do because just lazy.
No, you don't have enough time.
And yeah, and then the long form stuff, believe it or not, the rate limiting step for that is actually finding the music that I'm okay with, because we just going to put it like, it was just gonna be like a slow TV type thing where people can put on the background. But we
try to curate the music too, so it's like, so you're not listening to a nice relaxing track and then it's like like crazy. So because the whole point is like to be able to like curate it to the point where somebody could put that on and study to it and not even feel like, oh god, this song is like jarring or whatever. So that makes it a little bit more complex. But in summary, it's going. Just I think I started about a year ago. I think it was fall of last year I started it, and I think I might have like 11 videos. But they're like hour long each, so that's like counts for something, right?
Awesome, thanks guys. Yeah, keep it up. Long time fan, so yeah, awesome.
Thank you. It's nice to meet you.
All right, thanks, Pete. Let's go to Kevin. Kevin, hey, how's it going?
Hey, what is up? Just like Pete, I probably spent hours and hours and hours watching you guys paint your set, by the way, so been doing that. But anyways, my question for you guys is, I'm kind of curious about your guilty pleasures. So which YouTube channels do you currently watch on your personal time? And out of those people, I guess who has, I guess like in terms of sets, we're talking about inspiration shots. who kind of gives you that motivation for those inspiration shots with their sets?
Ooh, I feel like what we watch on YouTube is so all over the place. Like we got served human as a niche the other day on YouTube, and I was like, oh, that's interesting.
It was all over the place too. Anything from like COVID-19 to politics, just like human, like this could be anything. Humans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But in terms of like who we're watching all the time, just off the top of my head, like we're watching a lot of, I am Cody and Victoria. I love their videos so much, and their shots, color grading, audio is just like always on point, and they're always out in nature, and I find that kind of relaxing to watch, and they're just so sweet and precious. But it's just cool to see other people doing something that's like visually appealing, that's different than your own niche. So they're out in nature, they're filming their hikes, they're camping, I really like to watch camping on the YouTube. So they're probably one that I watch a lot. Another one is Hunting for George. They're an Australian couple who do like a lot of interior design, niche home renovation series, travel series and like home tours and stuff. And I'm obsessed with their channel because
travel and home decor is like your thing.
And Australian design is like on another level. It's so good.
It's a lot more modern than anywhere else, really.
Yeah.
Certainly the United States anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So they're definitely like one channel where like their personalities are fun to watch, but like the stuff that they're producing is good, and the places that they're showing is really neat.
First of all, I think you're the best at it, all of us here, with the fluorescent lights, the single like
shooting
moody light source. I love it.
Yeah. Oh my God. Thank you.
All of your leather bound books.
I have a lot of books. Yeah.
I love that.
I love it. We have a shared YouTube channel. So like the recommendation algorithm is just like all over the place. I don't know, like
Trent Palmer.
Yeah, I watch a lot of Trent Palmer. We both watch Trent.
Yeah.
He's a bush plane pilot, and he's like flies with those like those planes that have those real fat tires that can do like like off airport landings, but in a plane. And he goes on wacky adventures with all his buddies.
He's a precious little peach too.
He's a really nice guy.
Yeah.
He is. I think he's like a drone pilot for a living.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just like, we're playing as a drone. My drone pilot living, fly bush planes for fun. Come with me on an adventure and be my wingman. But anyway, he always is up to fun stuff. And just being an aviation nut myself, I appreciate that for what it is, even though it's not helicopters.
But his videos are also, again, like going back to like Cody and Victoria's, like Trent's videos are all color graded, like very high quality shots, like visually, like even though he's not like he's a drone pilot, he's in that kind of that niche. But
he obviously knows how to edit videos.
He does. His YouTube channel is in the niche of aviation, but his like filmmaking is like on point.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
consistent.
It's a succinct story that's entertaining to the point where you will like get mad if you hear his intro from the room.
Why are you watching without
even
me?
though you have no interest in aviation other than by proxy, really.
Yeah.
But you'll want to watch his videos because they're done so well.
Also, he also shows camping. I like watching camping on YouTube.
That's so funny. So I'm noticing a few trends, like really good color grading, visual, and also you guys have a lot of fun watching this type of content too. I can tell it was outside your niche or whatever. And it's very exploratory. Love it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Amazing. Thanks, Kevin. So we've got a bunch of questions from the chat. The first one comes from Alicia, who says, can you give some emotional encouragement advice for those of us just getting started? Some of us are just throwing spaghetti on the wall and don't yet know how our channel will play out over time. Any thoughts on that one?
Aren't we all just doing that though? Like we're all just flinging spaghetti.
Yeah.
And eventually you'll fling enough spaghetti that it'll stick and make something that looks like something.
Or you'll fling enough spaghetti where you're like, oh, I really like how that one spaghetti stuck to the wall. I'm going to make more spaghettis like that.
Yeah. But just be aware that it should be you who's deciding which spaghetti you like and not some random critic who's walking by and deciding that they like that spaghetti. Because I mean, you can chase the numbers there. And if it's, and let's be real, like if it's the dopamine hit of public acceptance that you're looking for, then fine. I mean, but call it what it is, right? But I think if you can make something, again, getting back to that authenticity line, I think that's probably the best approach, because then your moods and emotions are not subject to things that are outside your control. I think that's a big thing.
Mm-hmm. I think when you're starting YouTube too, it's like you have to try on a lot of hats to figure out what hat looks the best on you and what hat you feel really good wearing outside. And it's only until you like do a bunch of stuff. Like for us, it was like, okay, we're going to try to do tutorials. We're going to try to do travel videos. We're going to try to do an interview podcast. And we hated that. So we didn't do that. So, but we tried it and we knew we didn't like it. So then we were like, well, what if we did our own podcast where it was just us and and we liked that. And so that kind of worked. So it's just kind of like trying different things and seeing where you're comfortable and what feels really good, and not doing things that you don't like, because life's too short to be doing shit you don't like.
Yeah. And it's only going to be sustainable if you enjoy it to some degree. Yeah, I think that's the kind of overbearing thing. It's funny, the throwing spaghetti and sees what sticks. I remember someone in residency told me like that studying for like to become a fully licensed physician.
Is that our audio?
Is that our audio that's buzzing like that? Is anyone getting like static?
Oh no, sounds good on my end.
Okay. All right. Yeah, they were saying, they use the same analogy. It was like, it's going to be like you're throwing, but they use chicken wire and shit. And you're eventually going to throw enough shit at the chicken wire that, bits will go through and you'll remember maybe like 10% of what went through, but then like a little bit more sticks the next year and a bit more sticks. And by the time you're finished, you'll have a wall of shit that you can show off to everybody.
I like that.
Yeah.
Nice.
Thank you so much. That's so helpful. And can I ask a follow-up clarifying question on that?
Go for it.
Sure.
We'll just
Yeah,
spotlight you so we can see you.
super fan here, and I don't have my proper audio set up. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Anyway,
it must have been the automatic gain control. That's the static we were hearing.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm sure I did that. So the follow-up question is that I love what you said, which is that you kind of hone by trying. So you try, and then you basically evaluate what your experience was from that. And what about maybe like in addition to that, when you sort of don't know what you're going for, you have like an intuitive sense that you're shooting for something, and then you're experimenting, and it's almost like you're backing into something, like you're sort of eyes closed, fumbling in the dark and finding your way back to sort of your final thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody who's on YouTube, nobody knows where they're going with it, right? Like it's a very fluid career path, and you have to almost be okay with the spontaneity. And the secret is that you're looking at all these channels that have quote unquote made it, and none of them know what they're doing, us included, right? Like, I mean, Ollie's like laughing, like smiling and nodding, because he's like, I mean, I think everybody's got a level of imposter syndrome who's doing this, but it's like anybody who is a smaller channel and is quote unquote looking up or looking sideways at their neighbors who are doing, who are appear to be making it. It's that they all look, oh my God, these people look like they have their shit together. They look and know exactly what they're creating. Oh, of course they're creating this because this is what, would do well. Or of course this is, oh, I wish I had that idea. None of us knew that was going to do well. It's because you never saw all the shit that didn't work because the algorithm never served it to you. And that kind of also is something that we've always tried to keep perspective on too with numbers. And you feel like you're the only one who's alone not making it YouTube, but and I hate comparing it to a pyramid scheme, but like it's a pyramid, right? Like there's fewer and fewer people who make it, but you're going to disproportionately see those people who have made it because, well, they're going to serve you because they've made it. It's this paradox, but you're never going to see the millions more of people who are in the same stage that you're in. And that can feel really isolating, and it can make you feel really alone, and it can make you feel like you're not successful. But know that this is all like, it's like a treadmill. You're always gonna be looking one rung up on the ladder or two rungs up at people above you. And you're always gonna be wanting more. Like right now, I think our channel is like 300,000. Mm-hmm. And if, 5 years ago, you told us that one day you're gonna be at 300,000 subs, you've been like, holy shit. Cause at that point we were looking at 1,000, and then we were looking at 10,000. And then 10,000 seemed like crazy. I was like, oh my God, 50,000, holy crap. And then it was like, oh my God, we hit 100,000. And then, but like, we're always still looking one level up because it's like, oh my God, there's Ollie, he's got like 2 million, it's like, we're never going to get there, but that's all just numbers. That's harking back to the original thing we were saying earlier, is just like, don't worry about the numbers too much. It's only going to make you stressed out, and just do what you enjoy doing. And if you enjoy doing it, then you can't go wrong. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that answered your question. It's kind of a roundabout answer.
Sorry for running off. The computer almost died. I forgot to plug it in.
Yeah, no, that very much answers. And I will just say that in a way, the two answers run together beautifully, which is that basically, be yourself, be true to yourself. Even if you don't really know what you're doing, just try doing things. And as you try doing things, then evaluate what you liked, what you didn't like. You can use external parameters, but really use your internal compass. And I'll say you guys have a hidden advantage of each other. You know, I mean, you're an amazing pair on camera and even like tech wise. And then you probably can like bat around how you feel about things together as well. So
can't believe she forgot to plug in the laptop.
I know. Yeah.
All right. I'll let the other super fans have their time. Thank you so much.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
no worries.
Nice to meet you.
All right, thanks, guys. Let's go with Rida. Rida, you're here on your iPhone. We will. Oh, we can't spotlight you, but do you want to unmute yourself?
Oh, okay.
Sweating now?
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Can you hear me? I
Yes.
cannot access to the camera. I don't know why. 1 second. But
Yeah, we're on the road. That's why. Hey guys, we're super fans. We're very, very big fans of your channel. We are aesthetic, and like everything that you do, like the color grading and even the renovations. Actually, Rita was the one that actually discovered you, and when we started seeing your videos, we kind of relate to a lot of the stuff because
Yeah.
we're also Canadian. So
we're Canadian. We are husband, wife, and everything. And also,
Oh,
like,
great.
it's almost like we relating to like everything you do.
Where are you guys located?
We are located in Toronto.
Oh, in
Nice.
Toronto. Okay.
We love
Yeah,
Toronto.
actually, I'm the one who comment on your helicopter video that I own the small Thai restaurant in Toronto.
yeah, we got so excited when you
Yeah.
saw you were flying.
Yeah,
I was like,
the
oh,
flying
can we see your
footage.
restaurant over there? I was like,
Oh, that's
That's
too funny.
awesome.
Yeah, and we
I'm
were
gonna
like,
post that flight on. I'm gonna post that flight on
Hellyscapes.
Hellyscapes next. Yeah, yeah, that was a
Cool.
fun one.
Yeah, I always joking to my husband that, you know, like for you, Becki always the one who edited and everything, right? For me, the
Mhm.
same. Like my husband always editing. It's just like we switch version of Becki and Chris.
she always called me, hey, Becki, do my work. I was like, all right. I got
Love that.
You can just call me Rita.
Yeah.
mine. So,
Yeah,
yeah. So,
but anyway, I want to respect other people's time. I just want to ask you, but non-YouTube question. Like, how did you decide whether you want to go with helicopter or like regular plane? Because like I'm mechanical engineer by trade, but I quit my job to travel the world a long time ago, and then end up in Toronto and open my restaurant.
Mhm.
And my dream is to be a pilot, and
Mhm.
apparently happen to be a helicopter as well. So I want to ask you that when did you decide it, either helicopter or regular plane?
Oh, I love that. I love that, Rita. So it never was a decision for me. It was just always just helicopters. It kind of started out as when I was studying for my board exams for radiology. This was back in St. John's, Newfoundland. I just randomly, the thought popped in my head, says, I wonder how helicopters work. I mean, talk about like procrastination, right? And I just went
Classic Chris.
on a deep dive, and like was it Trent Palmer says, like, I don't dabble.
Oh my God, yeah.
So I just kind of like went like nose dived into it and went down a rabbit hole
Ew,
of like,
that's a poor choice. Nosedive.
oh yeah, it is a little bit. Yeah, I guess so. I just auto rotated down into it. No, it was, yeah, I went down the rabbit hole of helicopters, and then I think after like a day or two of it, I was like, you know what'd be awesome is actually like know how to fly them and like actually go on adventures in helicopters. Like that's a thing, right? Like, do people do that? And I was like, yeah, people go to flight school. It's like that's a thing. People fly helicopters. And eventually convinced myself that it wasn't crazy. And over the next probably 2 or 3 years, that's kind of how I made it happen. Yeah. So that was planes and helicopters. I always look at it as they're totally different tools. They're the only common thing is that they fly. But, you know, if you look at like the missions that helicopters are used for compared to the missions that planes are used for, planes are almost unanimously air transport for people and passengers. Helicopters, you know, you're search and rescue, getting in and out of remote places, going on real fun adventures and doing stuff that you can't do in
Going like off airport.
yeah, like
confined
literally in
landings.
any other aircraft. And yeah, that's, to me, that was the appeal. So planes were never on my radar, no pun intended.
Nice.
All right, good stuff. Shall we go to Shervin? Shervin, hey, what's up?
Hello. Hi, Becki
Hello.
and Chris.
Hi.
So I love your aesthetic and your vibe of your channel. And I was curious, what approach did you take in terms of like finding and creating that? Like, how do you color grade and the thumbnails and the whole vibe of your channel? What process did you take, and what advice would you have for someone who's trying to figure that out and find their own kind of vibe and aesthetic?
It's challenging because it's one of those things, again, it's kind of like the spaghetti, like you have to do a lot of it and try a lot of different techniques in order to kind of settle in on something that you like. And it's not really something you can force either. It kind of comes from like trying other people's techniques and then changing those techniques and then implementing your own kind of techniques and then kind of massaging the color or the style or whatever that is into something that you like. And it's kind of always evolving, but once you kind of figure out what you like, then you can kind of stick to like a baseline look with like minimal tweaks throughout. But we shot photos for a long time, and I went through a huge range of editing styles, from like super like high local contrast images with like a lot of artificial lighting to just shooting really more natural kind of looking stuff to now the more like desaturated kind of look that you see on our Instagram. So it's kind of hard because when you're a photographer and you're making content, you kind of get bored. You can get bored with like a certain look. So then it's like, how do you find a look that you're not going to get sick of, that you can tweak to the point where it looks different enough that you're happy with it and still having fun with it, but it's still kind of like on brand, I guess, quote unquote.
Yeah. A lot of people will chase sort of an aesthetic, and it's a lot of people who are centered in the film video realm who will kind of chase that, I feel like. But the vast majority of YouTube, I'm not sure what your content centered in, having a very characteristic aesthetic works well, but it doesn't need to be like the cornerstone of your channel, like it would be, say, in a film video niche. Or someone who leans heavily on that pillar, since we're the nicheless ones. But yeah, we started off actually like, because I don't want to discount the fact that you and I have been shooting photos since like high school, right? And so that was like, I graduated high school in 2003, if that dates me. So that's a long time.
He's a senior citizen.
Yeah, like I've been massaging colors in digital images for like almost 2 decades now. So, or actually over 2 decades, because I was making BMX videos since grade 9. So it's been a while. So it's been interesting to see how the technology changes, because it used to be like when raw photos were like, you could obviously push them around a lot, but video is always really low bit rates. Just the images just fell apart.
Yeah, you couldn't do to video what you could do to photos like back then when we started.
Right. And then it wasn't until like recently by recently I mean like since like 2015-ish, that I feel like you could start pushing video colors around to not the same degree, but a similar degree, to the point where, or maybe it's just because we started honing our techniques a little bit better. And we started editing our videos sort of like how we always would edit our photos, like added sort of like a bluish cyan tint to the shadows, compensatory, orange amber in the mid-tones. And that kind of gives you sort of a base, like it's almost based on like a kind of a teal amber look, but really high contrast and real dark and moody. And a lot of that too comes from the set design as well, not just the coloring, the color grading. Like a lot of things that we consider color grading is actually all of it put together and not just the color, but avoiding shooting at like high noon and like going, shooting more so in the evenings or in the mornings where the light's lower. All that stuff creates sort of a look, shooting with shallower depth of field, using wider apertures. I know that's like a trend now that a lot of people are railing against, saying you don't need to shoot f1.4, but I mean, for us, it's like, dude, you spent this money to get a 1.4 lens, shoot f1.4 if you like it, whatever, who cares what everyone says, So it's all those pieces that are not necessarily color grading, but they kind of coincide and harmonize with the color grading to give you an overall look. And that really is kind of the aesthetic. The elephant in the room that everyone talks about is LUTs too, or doesn't talk about is LUTs. And we tried on, we call it OPL, other people's LUTs. And I think LUTs are great for like trying on looks and just seeing like, okay, what does this look like? How do I like the look of this? And then trying to analyze like, what is this LUT doing? Because it doesn't you can leave it at that, just apply the LUT and move on if you want. But if you really are looking for your own look and you're really sort of more centered in the photo video side of things, you probably should be doing your own color, your own coloring. If you're somebody who's in the productivity space, not naming any names, you could probably get by with just, slap a look on or a LUT, and that's fine. It's just outsourcing something that you don't want to deep dive down into.
Can you describe what a LUT is?
A LUT is a lookup table. Sorry. It's like a filter basically for video, for anybody who doesn't know. But yeah, I wouldn't, and people who are in this chat right now are probably all across the board as far as niches are concerned. And there's nothing wrong with going with other people's LUTs. But if you're
looking to find a look or to massage kind of a style, then it's good to kind of, like you said, try them on and then figure out how they work and then massage them to make them look how you would like them to look.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
That's the quick way. It's just trying other people's looks. Oh, I like that look. Okay, now I'm gonna try to recreate it myself. You might not get there, but the advantage is that it's gonna be original because you're gonna get to a different destination altogether, and that's gonna be your signature look.
Yeah, I spent absolutely ages when you guys did a video probably like 2 years ago now talking about how you shoot in log and how you color. And I was like, all right, this is the secret. This is how your videos look amazing. And I was like, I'm going to start shooting in log. And I tried it once. I was like, okay, never again. And now I just picture profile 0, nothing. We don't even do any color grading in post. Who cares? It's all good.
Yeah.
Here's 10 productivity hacks. So it works nicely for this niche.
But your audience is not going to be like, oh wow, your video, like your look is not going to make or break your content.
That's the hard part about being in the photo video niche, is that like if you are making content about how to make videos or how to do photos, if your images look off, then people will notice right away. Instead of if we were just in the home decor niche and our audio or our video was off a little bit, like I don't think people would care as much. But because your audience is mostly,
I mean, their baseline is watching people just walk around a house with like a handy cam in the street, right? So any sort of like thought out shots is like, oh, a treat for people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But when your audience is majority made up of people who are there to like learn about imaging, then it all has to be, which is, and it's its own challenge, because if your audio shags up in a video, then everybody comments and then it sucks.
Yeah, like half my time.
Yep.
All right, moving on.
So we've got a question from Matthew. Hey, Matthew.
Hello, Ali. Hello, Becki and Chris. Love your videos.
Hey, Matthew.
Great to see you here.
Oh, you got a great looking set too. Look at this.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, it was a question about kind of, I'm interested to know at what point in your sort of YouTube journey you found your groove with content creation, writing, editing, and filming. And when you sort of hit that point where you're in a rhythm of it and you're used to then posting out regular content, like what was your journey in that?
When we started our channel, the first video I made was the second vlog. It was like where we drove across the country and moved to Vancouver. And that video took me about 50 hours to edit. And I was like, I think we had filmed it in June and I posted it, I think it was like August. And I was like, I can't post one video every 2 months. I had the post weekly if I want to make a certain amount of videos or be consistent in some way. Cause I was going all in at this point. It was a personal project kind of thing because we moved and the business was back home. So I was like, I had to do it every week. So I think at that point, it was like September, I was like, I'm going to make a video every single week for 4 months. And then I'm going to just see like, if I can do it at the end of that 4 months, what that looks like. And it was really hard at first because like I said, each video took so long, but after I was pushing out videos every single week for that 4 months, my editing started to get shorter and I started to be more efficient at Premiere and I could start to turn around videos a little bit quicker. And then by the end of the year, I went from, taking 50 hours to edit a video to 10 to 20 hours to edit a video. So I got a lot quicker by making that commitment to do it. And after the 4 months, I was like, oh yeah, like I'm learning stuff, I'm getting more efficient, I'm seeing progress, and I'm having a good time doing it. And then once it was kind of in my schedule, it just stuck. And it just became like a part of my life. And one a week just turned into that for the rest of time, pretty much.
I mean, you've ramped it up before and gotten like 2 week, 3 week even.
Yeah, there was a point where I was doing 2 and 3 week, but then it was like,
it wasn't sustainable.
It wasn't sustainable. And it's hard to like pump out that much content, especially when you want to focus on some more like complex video projects like series and short films and stuff. It's just doing 3 is a lot. So I felt after doing that 1 a week was the best kind of way for me to keep feeding the beast, we'll say, keep feeding the algorithm, and then showing up and staying consistent, but then also not being so overworked that I wasn't having like a personal life afterwards.
Okay, and was that through sort of sheer discipline on your part, or did you have moments of lapsing and sort of hitting a bottleneck? And if you did, what was your sort of first bottleneck that you found difficult to get to, whether it was writing, filming, or editing?
At the start, I didn't find it too bad because I was just like, I didn't really care about story or whatever. I was just trying to make videos, and it was just more so showing up every week versus trying to get better at a certain thing. And then over time, I started adding, like trying to learn skills, like taking a color grading course or learning how to do storytelling, and then, you know, adding the tutorials. But after a couple of years, I don't know if it was just like when we started monetizing or if I just started like trying to focus more on making better videos, it did start to slow down, and the videos, instead of just like documenting what we're eating or document where we're going, it's like, this video now has to have value. What can I share in this video that people are going to like take away something from and still hopefully be entertained? So adding that into the mix kind of was like slowed down the process a little bit. And then when the pandemic hit, I found it really difficult to keep going once a week because, you know, making videos about home decor and whatever, it just didn't really feel like it meant anything, kind of, you know what I mean? So that kind of, I feel like was a little bit of a bottleneck there where I just kind of dropped down. There was like 2 or 3 weeks where I went without posting a video. And that was the first time I had like skipped weeks consecutively for like 3 or 4 years. So,
but
yeah.
you kind of have to, you know, roll with the punches. I mean, everybody found 2020 a hard year, and people continue to find it a difficult year. You know, but we were trying to make as many videos in our house as we could. And to the point where like people in the comments would actually say like, are
you ever going to fly the helicopter again?
Yeah. Or like you've got that little pillar on the side who are like, they came because of aviation and only aviation. They're like, I don't want to see you style a shelf again, or I don't want to see you paint this wall. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, well, fuck you, go away. But yeah, like, and that's going back to like why we're doing it for ourselves. So yeah, I think sometimes you have to take breaks, and you can't beat yourself up over it if you skip a couple of weeks. I mean, it's almost for your own sanity, right?
And also it kind of evolves as well. Cause like I said, we went from like the documenting to trying to add storytelling and try to add color grading. But then like during this whole year, like, or 2020, I don't even know what year it is now. There was almost like a bit of an online identity crisis. Cause it was like, well, what about this? There's something weird that's feeling here. Like, what about this isn't working? And it was like, oh, I actually don't like making certain types and formats of tutorials. I actually really want to make this other type of stuff, but like, is that going to be a weird shift? Like the home renovation stuff. So you can get trapped in this like overthinking moment as well.
And that goes back to the whole imposter syndrome too. People, like, you look at people who have channels who are quote unquote successful, but we don't know what we're doing. You know, we still have these crises where we're like, oh my God, like if we start adding in more home renovation content, like, is this going to alienate our channel because people are here for helicopters? And it's like, oh, well, okay, let's just do it anyway because this is what we enjoy. And then the pandemic hits and we don't do any helicopter videos for a full year, basically. And now we're bringing back another series. It's like, oh my God, now we have this like 5-part travel series and helicopters.
Like, is anybody going to care about that anymore?
Is it going to bond? Did all the helicopter people leave? And now this is going to be a whole waste of our time. But then we're like, wait a second, we're just creating content that we're having fun. I create content that we would like to watch. And therefore that's kind of that internal compass that we were talking about before. So having the whole, like, that internal compass, I think is a very underrated tool to fall back on. Yeah. If it feels right, it's probably right.
Cool. Thank you very much.
That makes so much sense. Like, people look to like my channel as being like, oh, these guys seem to know what they're doing. But it's like literally every single night as I'm lying in bed, I'm thinking, oh crap, you know, that new thing, you know, I really want to do a video talking about like self-acceptance and like, you know, lessons I've learned from therapy, because that would be interesting. But like, people are here for productivity hacks and for like tech reviews. Oh, is anyone going to care? It's like any time we push the boat out and do something new, it's like a constant thing of like, will anyone give a shit about this? But also when it's like, okay, I'm making another productivity video, it's like, oh crap, but now the channel is feeling stale, you know, like how many productivity tips are there really? Like, who knows? And so there's this—
as long as you 10 at a time, you can just keep milking.
Yeah, I think the thing I like to remember is that really everyone is just making stuff up as they go along, and there are no right answers in this game. And I think I really like your internal compass philosophy for this. You know, are you having fun? Are you posting authentic content? And if so, you know, that's how you sustain it. Because chasing the numbers becomes not fun.
Yeah, but I mean, from like someone in your niche, you have to like appear like you have your shit together. You know what I mean? Because people who feel like they don't have their shit together come to you to get their shit together.
But that's the thing. The funny thing about social media, right, is that like there's this perception of what your life is because you're posting, you know, you're showing up every week posting YouTube videos and you're posting your highlights on Instagram. So it's very easy to look at somebody and say like they've got it all figured out. They know exactly what they're doing. Like a lot of us in the creative world is just like, I got a couple ideas and we're just doing our best.
Do another painting video. All right. How can we make paint dry more interesting this time?
Nice. We'll take a question from the YouTube live streams. So we've got Amrita who asks, could you please talk a little bit about work-life balance? I guess especially aimed at Chris, as Chris juggles a completely different job with YouTube. Yeah, how do you guys feel about work-life balance / work-life integration?
We try really hard to set boundaries with work. For me, so for anybody who might be watching who's like not overly familiar with our setup, I do YouTube full time. So my full-time job is making the videos, editing, putting up the Instagrams, doing all the social media. Chris is a full-time doctor. So he works from like 7:30 in the morning till anywhere from 6 to 8 at night. Some nights he's in later. Every now and then he'll get home at like 5:30 and we're like, yay, this is great. So we try really hard by dinner time. We have dinner together and then we don't usually work in the evenings. We take the evenings off to be together and hang out. Unless we have like a big project deadline coming up. Every now and then, if he has something to do, we'll have a work date on the weekends. Or if we have to, film a video or film a podcast, we'll do that kind of on the weekends. But when we film our vlogs, it's usually on the weekend and they're usually documenting something fun that we're doing anyway. And that's kind of how we started it. So it's kind of become like, what are we going to do this weekend? Oh, we're going to go do this thing. Okay, we're going to film it too. And we're going to make a video about it. And the video is going to be about this thing here. That's going to be the underlying topic. And then we just kind of bang it out. So I don't think that filming the videos doesn't feel like work. The editing part of the videos and getting it wrapped up and then coming out with like the thumbnail, the title, what's going on Instagram, if there's a blog post going with it, that stuff is what feels more like work.
Yeah. Work-life balance is a very nebulous topic. The way I think from my standpoint, juggling a full-time schedule with my main job, and then I've been lucky enough to be able to have all through my life, my hobbies have just happened to be in line or be in things that sometimes people would consider would be productive. So like, I'd be like in high school and on my off time, I'd be riding my bike, BMX, but I'd also be making films or videos like action sports videos. So even though it was work filming and editing, that was my hobby, but I was still producing something. And that actually was what laid my foundation in video. And ironically enough, Becki didn't do any video initially. Mm-hmm. And then it wasn't until like about 5 years ago, she actually kind of we flipped roles. Yeah. And then now she's like the main editor and she's blowing me out of the water on all of it. But for me, like coming home after work and like, filming a video sometimes is a little bit exhausting if I've had like a very mentally taxing day. And Becki's very attuned to that. And she'll say like, are you out of spoons today? Do you want to just like take a night off and just like do nothing? And I was like, yes, I need to do that. Or I said, no, let's film this. We said we're going to film this. But most of the time I don't feel like filming videos and doing YouTube from my contribution doesn't really necessarily feel like work. It feels more like a hobby. So therefore I don't feel like I'm as prone to burnout as a lot of people who might be, grinding it out at a full-time job and then trying to make YouTube work. But if they find that both things are mentally taxing, that's a recipe for burnout and unsustainability. So for me, I'm very lucky to just for whatever reason, from the beginning of my time anyway, my hobbies have always been somewhat productive in that sense.
You're like the Energizer Bunny. You just keep going. You can't sit still.
Yeah, but I think that's more of a personality of mine. And I know that won't necessarily work for everybody. So I don't really have a one size fits all solution. I'm sorry. I'd be a terrible productivity channel. Just do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really important point. We've just launched this new podcast where we're interviewing people asking for life advice. And one thing that I always say is like, take everything you hear with a sprinkle of salt, because everyone can only really speak to their own experiences, and there are no right answers when it comes to figuring this life stuff out. And anyone who acts as if that there are right answers to this is like trying to sell something. I say as I try to sell something. Yeah, I mean, I think, I don't know. I often worry about it. I don't know if you guys get this, where we've talked about imposter syndrome a fair bit, as my tripod microphone stand just keeps on falling over. Like people, I guess, come to you for advice about stuff. Do you feel qualified to give people advice about stuff? Because I really don't. I always feel like, well, here are some things that work for me. Maybe they'll work for you. That kind of vibe.
Mm-hmm. I think it depends on the topic. I feel like
100% that's the topic. Yeah.
I feel like when it comes to like design and photography, because I've like I went to school for graphic design, so I feel fairly confident in talking about my experiences with it, but also with the disclaimer that maybe it's not always the best. Whatever I'm doing might not be the best way to do something, because I'm also self-taught in photography side, and Photoshop and Lightroom and stuff. So yeah, I think part of some things I feel qualified to talk about. Other things it's kind of like interior design, for example, we talked about that at the beginning. It's like, this is what has worked for me and this is my experience, but I'm not a trained professional. So what I'm saying may not be either the best way or may not be the correct way to do it. And the topics I don't feel comfortable talking about or giving advice on, I don't, because I did that one time and I got reamed on YouTube and I was like, I'm not doing that again.
Yeah, it's interesting because we sort of like skirt this fine line between sharing things that we're interested in our channel. And we've always actually tried to have, like, our goal for a lot of our videos, we always said we want the person to learn at least one new thing, but we're not experts and we're not trying to teach things. Like, yeah, I have a commercial helicopter license, but I'm not like a certified flight instructor by any means. I'm not here to teach people how to fly helicopters, but I want to more impart on the general public. Oh, I didn't know how ATC worked. Oh, that's what they're saying on the radio. That's why they say this. So I think from an entertainment standpoint, you have to add value, and a way to add value is you can add some new information, but packaging it in a way that you can make it more entertaining and not more of a take this as the de facto means of, it's more so this is how I do it, and this is why we do it. There's probably a bunch of different ways that people can do it, and realizing that, yeah, if you're not, I'm always trying to not fall into the Dunning-Kruger effect. I would assume that you know all about Dunning-Kruger, and the less knowledge you have, the more confident you are, and it's like a U-shaped graph, and you never really reach the pinnacle of knowledge of the person who has no experience. But I don't want to be that guy who's like spewing BS online and has a substantial number of people who are following it and believing what they're saying, just because and maybe being sort of from the background of medicine, I'm very in tune with misinformation and even disinformation to an extent. But yeah, I try to know my own limitations to the point where that's, I think, how imposter syndrome is fed, right? Like, you start, self-doubt just creeps in so much that you're like, wait a second, am I even qualified to do any of this?
But I think it's helpful because, like, with our channel, like, we both come from different backgrounds. So I think what makes me feel a little bit more confident about certain things that I talk about is that you are more well-versed in some of those things. So you can look at the video that I make and I can say, like, can you just look at this and just make sure that it's correct?
We have two internal compasses.
Yeah. Well, maybe we're both wrong. Who knows? But
yeah, don't discount that two internal compasses are in an echo chamber.
Yeah.
So you can go right up like two festoons.
But sometimes there is, like, I will say something and you'll be like, well, maybe that wasn't the right way to say it. And so having that extra perspective, looking at your work all the time, like, nothing ever goes out on our channel without two sets of eyes on it.
That's true.
So
yeah. I guess we're coming up to time, so I just want to wrap up. I wonder if I can ask a very sort of selfish question, which is, I would love to hear more about the sort of how do you guys manage the fact that you are, like, together relationship wise, like private life, with also being, like, on the internet as very public figures? Like, how do you navigate that, like, line between kind of, this is personal relationshipy stuff that we're not going to talk about, and, like, this is the, like, different, both of you potentially having different levels of comfort with, like, certain things being public, certain things not. How do you navigate that territory?
It's interesting because the YouTube thing just kind of happened. It's not like we just said, okay, one day we're going to start and these are the parameters we're going to stick within. But I would kind of describe it as, and this is the first time I've ever thought about it this way.
Yeah. If
you would say something in a small group, in like a social setting, like at a party, but in the before times, when people did get social gatherings, if you would say something like in a group of people in a cocktail party, like after they've maybe had a few drinks, neither one of us drink, by the way, but if you're in a setting like that and you might tell, like, a joke that's a little bit raunchy, but it's not, like, completely out there, that's kind of like the litmus test, I feel like. But you wouldn't be, like, cuddling up all snuggly and smoochy and kissing, like
I like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, we kind of, I feel like the stuff we share online is the same humor and presence that we would be if we were at, like, a cocktail party, if we weren't, like, antisocial.
I have a no filter. So I have not that I have a problem with like things that we say, or like, I mean, we don't go on camera. We're not like always, well, maybe we are a little bit. We're not like, what do you call it? When people are kissing and hugging in public. PDA. We don't do a lot of that. I mean, we're always sitting next to each other, but I have a problem with my filter where I swear a lot and I talk about bowel movements and fart jokes, and like I have no shame when it comes to that. So sometimes there is a bit of a line where I like put something in a video and you're like, you can't put that in the video. I'm like, why? It's funny. You farted and it's hilarious.
It's mostly me farting.
It's mostly him farting. But we definitely have that respect where like, if there's a podcast or a video where I've edited it to be a certain way and one of us or the other person isn't really comfortable with what it is, like we will take it out 100%. Like we both want to be comfortable with what's going on. Even like Instagram stories, like there's been times where Chris has made an Instagram story. I'm like, maybe like I don't want to put that on the internet just for whatever reason. And he's like, cool. There's never pressure of whatever we're making. If something is not comfortable, there's never pressure to like, oh, come on, please, can we just do it? And then there's a regret. It's like, okay, no, cut it. And it goes in the trash can. Right?
Yeah, I don't know if I answered your question.
I don't know either.
No, thanks. I appreciate the perspective. That's all very interesting. Yeah, just want to say thank you. This has been great. Thanks for coming on, taking the time, answering the questions from the chat and the YouTube live stream. Everyone, follow Becki and Chris. There's links in the video description if you're watching this on YouTube, and you guys are subscribers anyway if you're watching this on the Zoom chat. Any final kind of parting advice for whatever that's worth for people just getting started on YouTube? Maybe a few videos in, maybe a few tens of videos in, and like feeling that I feel like this should be easier.
That's everything though in life, man.
Yeah.
Every single thing, like we just put a paver patio in the back deck, and oh my god, there's like 3 days of like I think I moved like 20,000 pounds of stone and earth. But yeah, everything is going to be that you approach is going to be, you think it's going to be easier. That's just life, unfortunately. And it's tip of the iceberg, whatever you want to call it. You know, there's always going to be, you see the pinnacle of success, but what you don't see is all the work behind it. But also remember, like as we talked about before, don't get too bent up when you look at the people who are that you do think are successful. Just know that the algorithm is not serving you, everybody else who's in your exact same position. And for that reason, most of you are going to quit. And that's why it's shaped like a pyramid, not because it's a pyramid scheme, but because it's only a few people will make it to that level of success that you're looking at on a daily basis.
Yeah. I would also say like, try not to compare yourself to other people, because comparison is the thief of joy and it will suck the joy right out of this thing that is YouTube. And also if you're showing up to make YouTube videos, just be yourself. Don't try to be somebody else. Don't try to deliver content in a way that somebody else is doing it because it's working for them, because then you become an imposter, I guess, of this other person. So just be yourself, and eventually if you keep going, you'll find your voice and you'll find your style. And it takes a lot of time and effort, but if you're enjoying it, that's the main thing.
Yeah, because it's a good point, because you said like anytime you're copying whatever other people are doing, whether you consider it copying versus inspiration or whatever, is that person that you copied is already onto a new thing. So you're not just one step behind, you're 2 steps behind, you know. So it's just do your own thing, and we kind of had this sort of, again, not to get on too much of a tangent, but we sort of had this thing where like we really took us a while to be comfortable with that internal compass of ours. And a lot of it was because the niches, and we're still in that area where we don't think the niches that we want to be in exist yet. And we want to create like these travel series via helicopter. I don't know of anybody who has that. So for us, I don't think that's going to be a very popular series because people aren't searching for it. But if you can create it and create a new community or create something that people didn't know they were interested in, then you're gonna be the first one in that area. And then the sky's the limit, right? No pun intended, because it's a helicopter. Get it? Because like sky's the limit. Anyway, on that note,
Love it. All right, guys, thanks very much. Thanks for sharing all your insights. This has been great. And guys, if you're watching on YouTube or if you're watching on the Zoom call, same time tomorrow, we have a chat with Charlie from Charisma on Command. So we'll be talking all about charisma. And so stay tuned for that. And if you want, you can sign up to our part-time YouTuber Academy. It's launching on Monday, if you like. To be honest, we don't know what we're talking about. We're just making stuff up. But we talk to other YouTubers and get their advice for whatever advice is worth. And generally, it's a nice community and people have fun. So thanks for joining us. Thanks, Becki and Chris. And hope to see you guys in person at some point when the US, Canada open up the borders to people in the UK. And likewise, if you're ever in London, hit me up and then we can hang out.
Cool.
Yeah,
Thank
likewise.
you so much for having us.
We're in Buffalo, so if you're ever in New York State, let us know.
Sick. All right. We'll
Or
see you.
Toronto. Toronto's
Toronto's close.
Or Toronto, yeah. All right, good stuff, guys. Okay, bye-bye.